What's up, guys? Here for the Week 11 review. I know probably most of you guys have been waiting for this video, as yours truly took his first loss of the season to Garrett last night. That'll be the first game we cover here as one of the closer matchups of the week. There was another one that was pretty entertaining from last night's game as well. Garrett took the victory here. It was 119 to 110. Looking at my team, I had Matt Ryan with 14, Carson had 12, Gordon had 19, Devonta Adams had 22, Thielen with 12, Gurley only with 11. Nothing going on the bench. A couple guys on by. Could have got one more point switching out the quarterback, but it would not have made a difference there. Really no duds in my lineup. Maybe the defense could have got a little more than 3 points. The real struggle with my team was having just one touchdown out of my position players during the week. Carson was the only player who scored a touchdown. Obviously, when you have the likes of Gordon, Gurley, Adams, and Thielen, you're definitely expecting some touchdowns there. So I'm not really sure what went on last night with Gurley. I knew going into the matchup I was up 30. So I figure, okay, I'm definitely getting 20 out of Gurley. So I'm assuming I'm up 50, and then I figure maybe Garrett can get 20 out of Hunt, maybe 20 out of Kelsey, and then if his kicker can get him 10, we'll have something really close, but didn't get that 20 out of Gurley I needed, which would have made things extremely interesting if I would have. If we look over at Garrett's team, he had Trubisky with 15, Hunt had 19, Kerryon Johnson with 17. Obviously, Kerryon got hurt in that matchup, so I took some points away from him. Kelsey with 24, David Johnson with 16, Redskins defense got him 10, kicker got him 9. Could have got some more points had he played Roethlisberger, who came on late in that game to get him some points. Also could have got more points due to play the Texans defense. Obviously I had some players on bye. Garrett had a player on bye, had a player get hurt in the matchup, and then also didn't have A.J. Green. So all in all, fair matchup. We'll see if I'm pretty sure I'll be in the final, so we'll see if Garrett can make his way there, and we'll have this rematch again when both teams are at full strength, hopefully. Obviously, the way the records are, the win is huge for Garrett. With Garrett winning last night, me and Garrett will be the 1 and 2 seed in the playoffs. I'm not sure who will be 1, who will be 2, but either way, right now it doesn't really make a difference. It's just both of us will get a first round bye, which is obviously a huge thing there. And obviously there's still I think there's still 6 teams battling for the last 4 spots. I believe there's 4 teams at 6 and 5 and 2 teams at 5 and 6. So obviously everything is still up for grabs. So last 2 weeks are going to be interesting. Next matchup we have here is one of the blowouts of the week. Brian beat the shit out of Philip. It was 142 to 79. It's just so weird for me to say Brian beat the shit out of somebody, but looking at the teams here, we look at Philip's team. He had Odell Beckham with 17, Robert Woods had 15, Brandon LaFell had 10. I know Brandon LaFell was put on IR. Looks like he had an Achilles rupture, so that sucks. He will be out for a while. Not much else going on in his lineup. He did have Josh Adams on the bench, who had 15. A couple players on bye week there. Duds in his lineup. I mean, Jimmy Graham only with 2 points. You expect a little more than that. I mean, everybody else is pretty much on par. I guess you would think Derrick Henry would get a little bit better. Deshaun Watson, you expect probably more than 9 points there against Washington. But Washington's a pretty decent team. Obviously, my Cowboys will face them this week, so we'll see how that goes. Looking at Brian's team here, Eli Manning with 17, Fournette with 21, T.Y. Hilton with 32, Jordan Reed with 17. I think that's his best game of the season. Galladay with 21. Colts defense got him 14. Nothing going on the bench. Looking here, Shepard getting 3. You might expect more than that. Obviously, he got 0 out of his kicker, so that really hurts there. Nothing on his bench. Some bye week stuff. So Brian's got a winning streak going. So look out. Next up, we have what I believe is the other probably best matchup of the week. was between Steven and Derek. So going into the game, Derek must have been down. Let's see, he won by 8, and he scored 51. He must have been down about 43 points, I believe, going into the night, something like that. So he came back and won that one. Crazy. Obviously, last night's game was crazy. I'll probably talk about that game a little bit at the end here. Looking at Steven's team, Cam Newton with 25. Aaron Jones had 25. Got 25 out of DJ Moore, 17 out of his kicker, but everybody else was just nothing going on there. He had some bye weeks on his bench. Not much else there. If I do look at his bench, though, if he would have played the Jaguars defense over the Panthers defense, it was a 7-point difference, and if he would have done that, them 7 points would have given him the victory. He also had 1 point out of the Panthers defense, which I just mentioned. Zach Ertz with a bad week with 2.5 points. Demaryius Thomas with a goose egg. I mean, those are some things that really, really hurt him there. So it's just tough. I mean, looking at it, Panthers at Detroit, Jaguars against Pittsburgh. Yeah, I think it's pretty. Those are probably pretty equal. I don't know. I mean, you could have played either one. It's kind of hard to say after the fact, but I could see that going either way. Looking here at Derek's team, so Derek had Jared Goff with 35 points last night, so that was a huge help to him. Lamar Miller with 12, Smith-Schuster with 14, Adam Humphries had 14, O.J. Howard with 10. He has been placed on injury reserve as well. Apparently he has some ankle and foot injuries, but he's not going to need surgery, so I guess they're just being cautious with him. Rams defense got him 16 points. This is probably the only time you will ever see a team give up 51 points. I want to say the defense actually gave up like 42 and score 16 points. I mean, that just shows how crazy last night was. Neither defense played well, but they made a couple plays, and I think both defenses scored touchdowns in the game, which is just insane. But, some good stuff there. Obviously, that helped him get the victory. He did have some points on the bench, so if he made some coaching changes differently, he could have got some more points as well. The big one on the bench is Christian Kirk with 15 there. Moving on, we have Josh versus Joseph. Joseph won this one pretty easy. It was 148 to 110. Josh is now on a 3-game losing streak, so he was riding high early in the season. Now his team is shit in the bed, which is not too surprising, to be honest. Looking here at his team, Drew Brees with 31, Joe Mixon with 13, Peterson had 17, Brandon Cooks had 15, Tyler Lockett with 10, Zerline gave him 12. Did have Phillip Rivers on the bench with 20, so he played the right quarterback. Had Peyton Barber on the bench with 18, so he could have got a few more points there, but obviously not enough to make a difference here. Dante Moncrief with 1.5, Trey Burton with 1.5. Some duds in his lineup. I mean, you would think with Tampa Bay scoring 35, Deshaun might have got a little bit more than 6 points there, but everything else pretty much on par. Looking here at Joseph's team, obviously Patrick Mahomes with 36. Helped him quite a bit there. Philip Lindsay with 25, Mark Ingram with 22, Mike Evans with 27, Gabriel with 10, Jared Cook with 11, 13 out of the Dallas kicker, and nothing on his bench. A lot of bye weeks and some injuries. Titans got him -4. That hurts. Wendell Smallwood got him -0.4. But everybody else is pretty much on par with what you'd expect there. Next up, we have, not that one. We have Chad versus Dakota. Chad won this matchup pretty easily as well. This was 150 to 106. Chad had Andrew Luck with 24, Elliott with 30, Coleman with 10, Michael Thomas with 17, Diggs with 25, Donald with 10, Bears with 16, Kicker with 11. Not much going on his bench. He had MVS get him 1.3. That's really the only sore spot in his lineup, in my opinion there. Looking over here at Dakota's team, he had a lot of sore spots in his lineup. He had McCaffrey with 14, Hopkins with 12, Tyreek Hill with 39, Julio with 21. New Orleans kicker got him 12. Had Kirk Cousins on the bench with 17, which would have given him quite a bit of more points, but not enough to make a difference. Nobody else on his bench did anything. If we look at the duds in his lineup, Carson Wentz with 0.8. 0.8 against the Saints. I mean, come on. Like, he was supposed to have a big day. I mean, I guess Saints defense is getting better. I mean, they're definitely a team to be reckoned with, so we'll see. He got 0 out of Ben Watson. Saints put up 48 points, but nothing to Ben Watson. Dalvin Cook with a half of a point. Chargers defense was 0. I mean, when you get 4 guys combined for less than 2 points, you're probably not going to win. I'm shocked this team was able to put up as many points as it did, given that. But when you get 39 and 21 out of a couple players, that definitely makes a big difference there. So, both of those guys are in the battle for getting in the playoffs. And then the last matchup we have here, another blowout. We have Orlando with 139. Orlando was once like 1-5 or something, and he has won 5 in a row, so he is now 6-5. So he has gone from being the bottom of the barrel at the beginning of the year to making a push to try to get into the playoffs, and his team is red hot right now. But he's obviously about to play me this week, so we'll see how that goes for him. I see he's changed his team name. You can't spell Waddell without 2 L's. It's pretty funny. Waddell does have 2 D's, so you just might want to fix that. Looking at Orlando's team, Aaron Rodgers with 22, Saquon Barkley with 34, Fitz had 15, Antonio Brown with 20, Marlon Mack with 13, Steelers with 11. Only thing on his bench was Doug Baldwin got him 15 there. Duds in his lineup, Corey Davis is probably supposed to do a little bit better. Same with Deion Lewis, both of them getting 4 points there. You expect a little bit better there, but everything else is pretty much on par. I'm looking here at Dalton's team. Russell Wilson with 18, Kamara with 17, Keenan Allen with 20, Justin Tucker with 12. Had Traquan Smith on the bench with 27. Lamar Jackson was on the bench, had 16, so he played the right quarterback. Had Josh Reynolds on the bench with 17, so he could have got, let's see, that would have been 16, 21. Could have got 37 more points. I mean, still wouldn't have been enough to win, but could definitely make things a little bit more interesting. Obviously, some duds in his lineup. Maybe Jeffrey with 5, Cooper with 5. Obviously, Watkins with 1. I know he was in the game at the beginning, but I'm not sure how much he actually played during the course of that game. Let's see if they have news on him here. Yeah, he just played 5 snaps, so obviously that was quite a risk there, throwing him out there. But, I mean, didn't make too big of a difference here. Bengals getting you 1. You might expect a little bit better there. So that covers all the matchups here. I just want to make note of the game last night. Like, I've heard people talking about this is the greatest game ever, blah, blah, blah. Look, I don't think the game was that good, to be honest. Yes, it was very entertaining. I watched a good chunk of the game. I didn't watch the whole thing. I did see the end. I think it was a lot of poor coaching. Obviously, neither team was running the ball very much, which obviously led to a lot of the turnovers that took place in the game, because when you don't run the ball, when the defensive line knows every time they can just go full speed toward the quarterback because he's just passing. And that's why, Mahomes was throwing interceptions. He was getting pressured quite a bit. He fumbled at least a couple times. You can't just constantly pass and not expect to get rushed. Plus, when you're playing against Aaron Donald, who is arguably the best defensive player in the league, I mean, this dude was just blowing by people. They said he was pressuring the quarterback in 2.5 seconds numerous times last night. Like, you got to offset that with some draws, some running plays, some screen passes, whatever it may be to slow down that pass rush a little bit. So some poor coaching there. I mean, even Sean McVay had poor coaching. They get the ball with 1.5 minutes left in the game. Ideally you would probably run the ball 3 times, make the Chiefs use their timeouts, waste as much clock as you can. He fucking throws it 3 times in a row and only wastes 14 seconds and then gives the ball back to the Chiefs. I mean, luckily it worked out for him in the end because, Mahomes threw another interception, but I mean, just some poor decision making by those guys. It's just not exactly what I want to see. It looked like a game of Madden out there instead of like a real football game. It looked like Big 12 football, which if we want to watch that, we can watch that this weekend where they don't play no damn defense. So I certainly hope that's not going to be what the NFL turns into, which I don't think it will. I think both those coaches probably learned their lesson there. So we got a couple weeks left before the playoffs. I'm still in first place. Garrett is right behind me, 1 game back. And then everybody else is 4 games back of myself, at least. We have Chad, Dakota, Orlando, and Josh all at 6-5. So if we started the playoffs today, they'd all be in the playoffs. We also have Dalton and Steven 1 game back of those teams. So these matchups the next couple weeks are going to be crucial to decide those last playoff spots there. As you guys know from last year, or the ones who played last year may remember, the tiebreaker in our league is head-to-head record, all right? But that only comes into effect if it's 2 people tied trying to get a certain spot. In this case, if the playoffs were to start today, we obviously would know the 6 teams getting in, but the tiebreaker between all the teams that are tied at 6-5 is going to go to points scored to decide at least the first 2 teams to break up the tie. Once it gets down to the last tiebreaker, the last 2 teams remaining, then it'll go to head-and-head. That was my understanding from last year because there was a lot of commotion about it. I reached out to ESPN and got an explanation on exactly how that works. So I believe that's why when you look at the standings, in all the 6-5 teams are obviously sorted a certain way. Chad is 3rd in the league in scoring. That's why he's 3rd. Dakota's right behind him. Looks like Orlando is just above Josh in head-to-head scoring. So that's why it's sorted the way it is there, which obviously will make a difference for playoff seeding and things of that nature. And I have no problem with it sorting it out on points scored for it. Just to me, that if you're scoring a bunch of points, it means you have the best team. I mean, right now I'm about 150 points ahead of Garrett for most points scored in the league. So obviously my record shows that as well. Not always going to be the case, but it definitely helps some there. I've obviously had the advantage of having a pretty easy schedule as well. I think I have the 3rd easiest schedule in the league based on points against. So that's how it goes sometimes. I will have updated rankings. Obviously, one more reminder. We have games Thursday this week. Obviously, you guys know we got Thanksgiving. Make sure you have your lineup set for players if you want them to play that are playing Thursday. We have, I think it's Bears, Lions, Cowboys, Redskins, and Falcons and Saints on Thursday. So make sure you get those guys in. The trade deadline is this week as well. The trade deadline is Thursday at noon. So, if you're trying to get some trades done, we got about a day and a half left to get those accomplished. So, do your best to get those out there and get those done. After that, there's obviously no trades. And then your roster is pretty much locked between that and, any free agents that'll be available. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll do the best I can to help you out. And, best luck to everybody. Let's see. I am playing Orlando this week, so it's a big game for him. And Dakota and Dalton are playing, so it's a big game for those 2. Obviously, anybody who's on the bubble is a big game, but those are big games for guys who are playing other guys who are pretty competitive. I mean, Josh is playing Brian. Brian's team's been playing. That might be a good game there. Steven with Phillip. Phillip's just having a rough year. Garrett and Derek are playing, so there's nothing really on the line there. And then Joseph is a little too far out to compete, in my opinion, and he's up against Chad. So best luck to everybody, and I'll see you guys next week.